Hello, everybody. I'm Josh Olive with Haven Comics. It is Thursday night, which means it's time for some shop talk, and we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, so stick around. This past weekend was insane. Uh, the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. This coming Saturday, just day after tomorrow, is Free Comic Book Day. They're not usually that close together, but thanks to a fluke of scheduling with the Von Braun Center, they just ended up piled up right on top of each other. So, Free Comic Book Day is going to essentially be a continuation of the expo in some respects, and we're all here for it. So, if you didn't quite get enough at the expo and you want some more of that vibe, come out to Haven for Free Comic Book Day. We're going to have a blast. Speaking of things that are a blast, what's up?
I am still wore out from the Pop Culture Expo. I cannot imagine what Jeremy Long is going through right now.
You know who has it worse than Jeremy Long right now in some respects?
Who's that?
Mark Spears.
Oh yeah, but at the
He
end,
signed so much stuff, like for 3 solid days, all hours, just boom, 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 signing constantly. He hadn't been able to close his hand most of this week.
oh wow.
It's just swollen.
But at the end of the day, out of everything that happened at the expo, this right here is the only thing that matters. A bam.
And why is that important?
I absolutely love this man's work, and finally getting to meet him and the way that we got to meet him and how all that went down is absolutely friggin' awesome.
Cool, cool. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. What's up, Tots? Adam, how's it going, man? Hope
What's
everything is
going
well.
on?
Mr. Posey, what's happening?
Um, I do need to be honest. I have not had a chance to read any comic books, but I did bring my pickups from the expo.
I have also not had a chance to read any comic books this week because this week has been insane.
It's
Um,
funny how the past week and a half to 2 weeks has been absolutely dominated by comic books, but I have not had a chance to read any comic books.
I don't think everybody's here yet, Mike, but we're hoping that people pop by. Uh,
Um, for the people that are actually in the chat, how does this new camera look to y'all? Let me
and
know
first of
because
all, you have to guess which of us has a new camera.
I got a new camera to see how everything
You
will
just
go.
ruined it. I said they had to guess, and then you just like spilled the beans.
That it kind of looks funny on because I've got the YouTube feed pulled up. It does
No,
look a
you look
little
great, man. You are way clearer, more definition. It's good.
okay. Well, we'll see.
Trust Posey to come through with that
I
zinger.
do look balder. I do look balder. Hey, this thing shines. Absolutely shines.
You don't have a gate, do you?
A gate?
Yeah,
No one.
a Balder gate.
Oh, good lord. Yes, Mike. You can definitely see the crap on the table next to me, thanks to my sister and her ability to pile crap up.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, uh, let's get into it. Let's talk about the expo, which holy smokes, I we had to get ready Wednesday night to load in for the expo because load in started in the middle of the day on Thursday, and so we're at the shop just stripping the shop down. The place looked like it had been robbed. Um, did it not? I mean, it just looked like it had been robbed. Um, and we took all kind of stuff and loaded it all up, and then we took it to the expo. And load in was surprisingly smooth. Now we did forget a lot of stuff. I mean, just like the basics. We remembered some basics we always forget, and then we forgot other things that we should have remembered. But thankfully, Tom was coming up later, And so he was able to swing by the shop and pick stuff up. So he saved us the trip out there. So thank you to Tom for that. Uh, but we got set up. That was pretty easy. We were in a great spot. We're right smack in the middle of the vendor hall and right on the edge uh, across the way from uh, our friends at the spinner rack. So that was awesome. What did we say? Have you received your monsters number 4? Um, funny story on that one. Monsters shifted over to Lunar distribution and at Diamond still. Lunar would only do 4 covers. And we all know Mark, he likes to do more than 4 covers. So we had to split our order between Lunar and Diamond. Well, they've both had the book for about a month, and for whatever reason, they weren't shipping it. It was like 6 weeks, 7 weeks late. It should have been shipped a while back. But Lunar shipped it out. We got our Monsters number 4 this week, but Diamond isn't shipping theirs out until next week. Nothing we can do about it. It makes no sense. But yeah, there was a 1 week delay there from Diamond. So we will be getting the remainder of our order this coming week. But yes, we did get about a little more than a third of our order from Lunar this week. So any of our subscribers will have a copy of that in their box, waiting for them to get there and pick it up. So
I appreciate that, Mike, but I am trying to figure out the lighting with this new camera.
Keen Spot getting from Diamond. Are they leaving Diamond? It appears that, well, we have a lot to talk about on the Diamond front too. And I guess we should just go ahead and address that before we jump into the stuff that's going on or talking about our recap of the Expo. For anybody that doesn't know, Diamond went into bankruptcy. Diamond was, they had an auction a little over a month ago, or right about a month ago, to sell off Diamond Comics and all of their assets. That's Alliance Distribution, Diamond UK, Diamond Select Toys, Diamond Book Distribution, Free Comic Book Day as a legal entity, everything. So that auction happened. There were 2 bidders that we all heard about. One from a group called Alliance Entertainment, which doesn't do comics at all. And then one was a joint bid between Universal Distribution, which is a comics distribution company up in Canada, and Nika WizKids, the people who make a fair number of toys and such. The Alliance Entertainment bid won, and then Alliance Diamond said like that day or the next day that they really wanted to sell instead to the second highest bid. And so Alliance Entertainment sued them. Oh, that's a nice background.
I'm just playing.
So Alliance Entertainment sued them. And so they said, okay, we have to go back. And so they were selling to Alliance Entertainment. Then Alliance Entertainment on Friday last week, Thursday going into Friday, found out that Diamond's distribution arrangement with Wizards of the Coast, the people that make Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff, was coming to an end on April 30th, so yesterday. And they said that Diamond did not disclose that that arrangement was coming to an end, and that they then sued Diamond for fraud and shut down their purchase of Diamond and backed out of the deal. As of Tuesday, the sale has been pushed to the second highest bidder, although now their bid is reduced because they won't have the income coming in from Wizards of the Coast. So the Nika WizKids, which their parent company is called Ad Populum, and then Universal Distribution are purchasing Diamond now. So it's been a long, sad, strange, messy scenario, but Diamond is being bought by these two companies. Weirdly, Universal Distribution that does comics is getting Alliance Distribution, which is the gaming distribution for Diamond, and they're out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And the people who make the toys and such are getting Diamond Comics distribution and all the rest of it. So it's really ugly and really ridiculous. But we'll see what happens. Well, yeah, that's a good point. Will comic supplies and comics being printed in Canada if tariffs are going to raise prices? At the moment, comic books themselves, as a paper product, the tariffs do not currently apply to comic books. Now, that could certainly change, but at the moment, comics themselves are exempt. Now, the plastic that makes the bags is not. Um, Cardboard, I think the backing boards is. But it's a mess, and we're just going to see what happens. It's unfortunate, the whole thing. Yes, it is. I've seen some pretty ugly DoD contracts, but this one is really hideously ugly. Uh, I mean, when there's two lawsuits involved from the same company over the same sale and purchase, like I'm trying to buy you and you said no, so I'm suing. It's just a mess. Just a mess. So really unfortunate, that whole thing. But there we are. That's Diamond. That's what happened at the end of last week going into this week. Let's jump back to happier topics and talk about the Expo. So we got there. We got all set up on Thursday. We talked with our neighbors and the folks setting up around us. And then we showed up bright and early Friday, even though the gates didn't open until 3 o'clock or 2:30 for VIPs, but 3 o'clock for everybody else. And the first thing we had to deal with was the parking situation, which I'm sure you all had to deal with that if you came to the Expo. And it was a mess. The parking deck underneath the Von Braun Center, where we would normally park. Hey, what's up, neighbor?
What's up?
Deb Hinton from the Spinner Rack, who was right across the way from us. And we're awesome as always.
And let me tell you what, you were too far over the blue line Thursday. We all saw it.
That's right.
We all saw it.
That's right. You were over that line. Can't be past that tape.
But yeah, the city of Huntsville should have really done something a lot better as far
well, the Von
as
Braun Center themselves should have too. I've never in my life seen a scenario where people are paying a ton of money to come to an event and you save the closest parking for the employees of the venue. That just made no sense. That made no sense whatsoever. I was really surprised by that.
Do you have a cat?
I do. And she does not normally come in here, but she hears me talking like with what she describes as angry voice, and she likes that. She's definitely a Sith. She's like, yes, let your anger flow through you. If you're ever like ticked off about something and you're like, rah, 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 she comes in and she's like, hey, what's up? I want to get in on this. Who do I get to claw up? No, Puddin didn't get up into view, but she's down here making a ruckus and yelling at me. So sorry. No, Kaylee said you did not miss a cat sighting. Some of us knew our way around parking. Some of you, I don't know how you did that. That was insane. But yeah, parking was rough. When you're trying to carry a whole lot of stuff in from your car to set up, and you've got to like hike across the parking lot and through the back fence and then down the hall and all, it's a lot further than you think. It's one thing if you're just walking in and, this is great. But when you're carrying a lot of stuff, that's not cool. So the parking situation left a lot to be desired. And the people who were running the parking situation for the Von Braun Center, they left a lot to be desired from a customer service perspective. They were like forcefully rude in some cases, and that was unfortunate. But that was just a hurdle we had to jump over to get to the show and to get into the VBC and get set up. So Friday kicked off about 2:30, and we had a there were a lot of guests who were Friday and Saturday only, or Saturday and Sunday only. There were some things like that. Um, so there was some stuff that was happening on that front, but there were guests that were there on Friday. Right out of the gate, Mark Spears had a 3.5 hour long line that formed, and it stayed 3.5 hours all day Friday, and it stayed about the same, maybe a little bit more, all day Saturday. It wasn't until late Sunday afternoon before his line died down a little bit. What's your
So
option on the comic collectors market right now? I assume you mean opinion on it, because my option is I don't have one. I have to keep doing this because I love comics, so I'm stuck. I gotta get that comics. Um, but my opinion on the market right now, it's really strange for me. But I would like to hear Alan's perspective before I say anything.
so from my perspective, it appears that the market is solid right now. I mean, yeah, we've got some books that are coming down in price, but to be quite honest with you, that was something that I'm calling the COVID effect. The reason why so many of those books went up to begin with is because people were sitting at home and they were falling in love again with childhood stuff. So naturally, the eBayers ran the price up on a lot of crap. Then you also had, it seemed like every time we turn around and the MCU was debuting a character, that character stuff went up in value, especially their first appearance.
Yep.
And some of those books should have never gotten to be as expensive as they were. I do think it's starting to level out some as far as being a collector's concern. Like, I don't do the spec collecting. I don't, I'm not big on flipping books and everything, but I do really enjoy comics in general. And as far as the hobby itself goes, I think that we're in a really good market right now as far as stories are concerned. As far as I think we're starting to see, I mean, DC's been doing it for several years now with their writing. Marvel's figuring it out on some titles. Independence, I mean, there's no secret there. I love independent comics, and I mean they're always spot on. But I think that the market's coming down in a way that it should have come down a while ago. I mean, let's be honest with you. She-Hulk #1 should have never hit like $700-800. That's not a seven eight hundred
or at
dollars.
a 9.8 newsstand, $2,000.
Yeah, it should have never hit that. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, one of my favorite titles of all times. I think at one point GI Joe #1 got up to close to 900, didn't it?
I sold a 9.8 GI Joe #1 for about $400 right before all the COVID stuff hit. And then after the COVID stuff hit and everything went through the roof, that book was selling for $3,000.
Yeah, and that to me that's not a $3,000 book. I mean, and I hate to say that because I do love GI Joe. I had me a GI Joe pickup at the Expo, but yeah, I think the market's coming down but in a good way. I think it'll help some of the collectors.
Damn it! I can just hear it now. Uh, my take on the market is similar to Alan's. I think there's certainly a correction is still ongoing, but I think it's starting to level out. Some books that went up a pretty good bit are never coming back down. People realize that they like them too much. But a lot of the books that people were like, why did we think that was going to be worth something? Those have dropped and they're still continuing to drop. Um, but there are the market itself, people. I'm trying to think back a good comparison. Like a year ago at the Expo, we couldn't sell a big expensive book off the wall for anything. We sold a ton of dollar books. I'm talking about 12 long boxes. So that's 12 boxes times 300 comics. That's 36,000 comics. We sold 36,000 comics. Uh, is that right? No, it's 3,600
Yeah,
comics.
3,600.
3,600. We sold 3,600 comic books um, over the course of a weekend, and then we sold a few books that were, $50, maybe $100 or 200. I think 200 was the most expensive book we sold all last year. This year we sold about 1,200 uh, 1,200 comics out of the dollar boxes, but we sold Golden Age Batman books, Batman number 14, Detective Comics number 48. Uh, we sold Batman Adventures number 12 in a really good condition, first appearance of Harley Quinn. People were buying big books again. Uh, and that was really, really good to see. And we sold a lot of them. So I think there's definitely something going on there with people uh, being in a good place as far as purchasing books. Uh, and the market is starting to open up a little bit like that. And I don't know, weird case in point, when we were kids, if we were having financial troubles, my dad would buy us something. I was like, that's the weirdest thing. Why are you buying me a toy when we don't have any money? That's how I got my Zartan action figure. Uh, I remember it vividly. I was like, I got it. I was so happy. And in the car on the way home, I could hear mom and dad talking quietly up in the front of the car. And mom, like, we can't afford that. Why do we do that? But that's just a thing that my dad would do. And uh, so maybe there's some element of that here is why people are buying bigger books right now, despite the uncertainty that's going on in the market and the economy in general and everything being so freaking weird. But people were buying some bigger books this weekend and not shying away from it. So I think the market's leveling out. I think there's back to some level of normalcy. I think it still has a little ways to go uh, to really get there, but we're in a new normal, and I don't know what the new normal is going to look like. But on the whole, I think the market's doing pretty well.
Yeah, I
From
remember
a
I
from a
told.
new comics perspective, like stuff that's coming out, Alan absolutely nailed it. There's a lot of great comic books coming out right now. DC is killing it. Marvel has a handful of books that are killing it. Some of their main titles have not been great. It's kind of strange, but a lot of independent books. Your GI Joes, books from Image, books from Dark Horse, books from people you never heard of are doing great. And then you've got phenomenons like Mark Spears. Mark is killing it, and he's doing it off his own merits, 100% off his own merits and what he's done, and then being really smart about how he goes about doing things. Uh, but it's interesting. Yeah, Posey he was right. We were getting questions about some really strange books. Hey, do you have any of this? Do you have any of that? We're like, man, no. But the weekend before the expo, I sold Hot Wheels number 1 for decent money, and I sold Hot Wheels number 6, which was CGC graded 8.0, um, for decent money. And you're like, okay. So yeah, people were picking up some of the obscure things for sure.
I think what
Uh,
got me was how many people were asking for Sonic the Hedgehog comics.
yeah, there were a lot.
I thought that was weird. I'm sitting there thinking that was there an announcement? Did I miss something somewhere?
No, nope. But sales wise, this was our best expo by a long shot. I have to absolutely give credit where credit is due. And uh, first of all, we have an amazing team of people that come and support our sales efforts at the expo. Just awesome people, and really, really appreciate, because that's not an easy thing. It's hard on the feet. You're tired. You're exhausted, and we have people that show up and help out, and that's amazing. We had folks like Nick Ellis, who built our new display wall for taking to the expo, and that thing was awesome. That worked out great, and I think the visibility of that plus the height of that uh, gave us a lot of people could see what we were selling, and they were like, "Ooh, what about that? Ooh, what about that?" And we were able to help them. Um, Plus, they were easily portable. They don't weigh anything, right? We were able to tear those suckers down, fold them up, boom, and get them out the door because
That
they
is
weigh next to nothing.
that is surprising how light they are considering how big they are.
Yeah, it's like me. uh, but yeah, that so our booth. This was our best year ever as far as the expo goes, sales wise. And it was pretty spectacular from a guest perspective. We didn't have a whole lot of comic book guests, and I'm hoping we're able to get more next year. But we had some high quality comic book guests. We had Mark Spears doing his first show of 2025, and people were hungry for Mark Spears stuff.
Oh yeah.
There were people who they called Jeremy Long up the week before the expo and said, "Hey, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know how to do this. We've never done it. We're driving down to Huntsville from Pennsylvania. We got VIP tickets to your show specifically so we can meet Mark Spears and get him to sign some comics." They'd never been to a convention before in their life. They have no idea. But they drove down for Mark Spears. And people drove from all over the country or flew in from all over the country to meet Mark. So, as a local guy that we've known a long time, could not be happier for him. So proud of him and so happy for him. Uh, just awesome his success. But like I said, the entire show, right up until fairly late Sunday afternoon, he had a 3.5 to 4 hour long line of people coming by to get things signed. Uh, it was absolutely nuts. He did finally, one of the things he wanted to do so badly was to meet William Shatner. And he did get the opportunity to meet William Shatner. And he had done a cover, and he had done two copies of it, of I think of William Shatner, but he gave one of them to William Shatner, and William Shatner signed his for him. So that was pretty spectacular.
I
But
think one of my favorite things with Mark over the weekend, though, and I did find it a little funny, was actually Friday night. You and I had went for a walk, and we were walking back to where some of the guests were. They were only Saturday and Sunday only guests,
yep.
and we see Mark walking back there by himself, and he had this look on his face like, "Oh, what have I done?"
Yeah, that might not have been his best move.
Yeah, I mean, it had. I can't imagine it had to be overwhelming for him to see that type of response. I mean, I know it felt good, but it had to be overwhelming too.
Oh, it had to be. And he doesn't do a whole lot of shows because shows eat into time that he can be producing stuff that he can sell. But he absolutely called it. Having meeting the fans makes a difference, and the fans who have met you will become like rabidly loyal fans. And he didn't have far to go to get rabidly loyal out of people. His market, those people are desperate to get his stuff, and they want to. It's like Pokemon; they want to get it all. And he's no dummy, man. He's bringing back all the gimmicks of the '90s that we enjoyed when we were younger, right? I think it's issue number 4. One of the covers comes polybagged and it has a collector's card in it, and it could be one of 4 cards. So everybody's going to try and get all those cards. Uh, they're like desperate to get their hands on those cards. So he's been really smart that way. But Chris Claremont was only supposed to be Saturday and Sunday, and he showed up late Friday night, and he was like, "Heck with it! I'm going to go set up, and I'm going to meet people." And he did that, and Matt Posey. I was the first one there, or one of the first ones in his line, and Matt was a little bit further behind me, Matt Posey. And Matt didn't realize that Chris Claremont is a storyteller, and that's not just on the page, man. If you're meeting him, he's going to talk to you, and he's going to show you stuff in the comic that he's signing, and he's going to tell you stories, um, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, his line takes a while to go through because he's going to talk to you. Um, and then I almost said Peter Laird. That Kevin Eastman was there for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he had a huge line all day, every day. Eastman and Kevin Eastman and Chris Claremont both had huge lines. So we didn't have a huge comic book presence this year, but those were the ones that were down there. And then at the other end, kind of on the edge of that new space where they had all the carpeted area that used to be the panel rooms and such. Mike Grell was there, and he was sitting next to Anna Zuo, I think is how she pronounces her last name, and Bianca, and then Corbin Delaney, and they were all busy the whole time. They were all
Yep.
busy the whole time, and Mike Grell had some health issues in the not too recent past, and he hasn't done a show in 2 years.
So
Um,
I actually met him. What was it, last year?
oh, Shatner,
Yeah,
2 years ago.
yeah,
2 years ago.
I met him 2 years ago, but it was purely by accident. It was actually in the backstage area,
Yep,
and he was surrounded by police officers. And
it
at
was
first,
raining.
yeah, it was pouring down rain, and I got to meet him by accident because I had walked out back to see how hard it was raining, and just happened to look up, and I'm standing next to a cop, and on the other side of the cop is William Shatner, and we stood there and talked about how hard it was raining, and they needed to get the van closer because, as he put it, my ass is old and I'm not running.
That's fantastic.
Oh, it was great because in my mind, I'm carrying on a conversation about the rain with William Shatner. Now, I mean, I'm standing there, but in my mind, I'm thinking, you're really, after all these years and all these TV shows, you meet a sci-fi icon and you're talking about the friggin' weather.
Yep, yep. You could have talked about anything, and you're talking about the rain.
Yeah,
Just
you're
like you
talking
looked
about
up
the
and said,
rain.
"Sure is raining." Sure is. You know, how long you reckon it's gonna rain? Well, I
Well,
don't
it
know.
was we had this quirky little thing over the weekend that turned around and happened with a particular actor. That was I mean, that was completely and totally unintentional. Had no intentions of that happening,
Well,
which
jump
was
into it.
great. Do what?
Jump into it.
So I will go back there and I will look to see. Yeah, because I'm not big on like getting autographs and stuff from actors. And so, but I do like to walk back there and at least walk by their tables and be like, hey, there's so and so, there's so and so, and that's about it. So I did walk back there and check everybody out. We were standing at the booth, and
They took pictures in the bathroom. That seems wrong.
okay,
Um, it's funny. I got one book signed from Mark, and that was the metal cover for issue number 4. And I really only did it because it has the Expo logo on the cover.
and
Um,
I did not get anything signed by Mark. And the reason being is I did not want to take up time that somebody else could have. And I know this sounds really bad, but I don't mean it to, and I'm going to say it anyway. I can kind of get in touch with Mark just about any time and say, "Hey, dude, I need to get this book from you and sign it for me," and then go meet him somewhere. I didn't
yeah,
want to take time away from people that had traveled from the con. Traveled to the con.
yeah, it's really really cool. I'm excited for that. Having him back up to the shop sometime. But no, that's the one thing I got signed. We did both pick up a complete set of his GI Joe books because it's GI Joe, and Mark Spears did a GI Joe cover, and he very cleverly did multiple covers, which was great. The Zartan and then the Zartan action figure.
Yes,
For
he did
anybody who
multiple.
doesn't know, back in the day, if you left a Zartan action figure in your car or blew a hair dryer on or whatever, if he got warm, he turned blue. He was supposed to be like a chameleon, and he would change colors. So you have the regular Zartan, which is there, and then you have the blue Zartan. So it was just a great homage to the action figure in 1984. Uh, really, really, or 83. Really good stuff. Um, so yeah, we didn't. We didn't get much signed by him, but we did get those GI Joe sets because they're awesome
In
and
fact, the
make me happy.
only thing that I got signed was my first edition of Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. And
Fair
I mean,
enough.
I was as excited to get that signed as I could possibly be.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure, for sure.
Saturday we were standing there, and this is for the people that don't know, and happened to look up, and Frank Grillo goes walking right in front of the booth.
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, he's been in 2 Purge movies, Crossbones in the MCU. He's been in tons of movies. I like Frank Grillo, but I like him because of the character that he played and how he portrayed it in Purge Anarchy. I just thought it was brilliant. I love that movie. Well, me just being me, I saluted and I figured he would nod and keep on walking. And next thing I know, he's standing in front of the Haven booth and we're talking about comic books his son reads.
Yep.
And then he had asked if we had had any Radiant Black. And I was like, no, we don't have any of those. I was like, but I've got some at home. I'll bring tomorrow for you. And you can pass them off to your son because I had picked them up to read them to see what it was like. And it's really not something that I collect. So I brought them back up to the con Sunday, passed them off to his agent with that smoking hot accent that she has. I'm sorry that I say that out loud.
You did.
Yeah, well, it happens. But then next thing I know, he's out because I didn't want any money for him. I mean, they've literally been sitting on top of the stereo for like the past year. And I'm like, hey, if it's going to a kid and I know he's into it, yeah, pass him along. That's I enjoy doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, he's out giving me a hug and we're taking pictures and standing there talking about the kids and everything else. And I mean, it was like, you've survived 2 purges.
Great question, Adam. How many people were there? Honestly, I have no idea. It takes a little while after everything gets settled to like hash through all the numbers and calculate everything out. My guess, and this is strictly my guess, I have no idea. We'll get the official numbers from Jeremy Long before long. Um, Somewhere in the ballpark of 28 to 30,000 would be my guess.
This year did feel kind of weird because it didn't feel as packed as it normally does.
Because it was more spread out.
Yeah, but then when you realize that they added that entire carpeted area, then you got stuff down the hallway and then the East Hall.
I never even got down to the East Hall. I never saw a panel room. I never went into the gaming room. Nothing. I never got down there.
So we walked down there a couple of times. Nick and I did to get some footage, and the girl, Bug and one of her friends went with us. It was really nice the setup that they had down there. Then they had the silent auction for all the gaming stuff for all the RPGs. There was a constant stream of people going back and forth. And that was the panel rooms. When you get to where the panel rooms were, there was always a line for the panels. I mean, I really enjoyed the fact that it was spread out the way that it was. I did not enjoy the 15,000 steps that I got in Saturday, but I did enjoy. Now, part of that was my fault because we needed a break Saturday afternoon. So Nick Ellis and I walked with Bug and her friend over to that Starbucks across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad we walked over there when we did. We got a coffee and a snack and sat down for a minute. And within a couple minutes after we sat down, Monster Jam let out.
Oh, Lord.
So it was literally all the crowd from the Pop Culture Expo, the crowd from Monster Jam, which that is not a small crowd by any means. And then the crowd from Panoply, there were people everywhere outside Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
I mean, and it was funny though. You see, basically, you see a redneck with a monster truck T-shirt walking down the street, and right in front of him is a Mandalorian.
It's true.
Well, that's just
You know who I did not see this year? We normally in years past we've had that guy who dresses up like Boba Fett. He does the Boba Fett like as a redneck with the overalls and everything. I did not see him this year. He's been there the past several years, and I didn't see him this year.
Yeah, I didn't see him either. I didn't see as many Deadpools this year either.
I didn't have a problem with that.
Well, I mean, I'm not complaining, but yeah, the cosplay was kind of all over the place this year.
I don't know if you saw the guy who won the cosplay contest. It was like this Aztec god Quetzalcoatl kind of a thing. It was incredible.
Really?
It was amazing. Yeah.
Is it on their Facebook page?
It's where I saw it online somewhere. But holy smokes, that was amazing. Really, really good. But there's always a little bit of a learning curve when you're expanding a venue and that kind of thing. You asked earlier, Adam, how big is the venue? I couldn't even begin to tell you. I think the South Hall itself is 50,000 square feet before you add in the carpeted area. And then you've got the hallway between South Hall and East Hall. You've got the East Hall, which is 30,000 square feet, broken into multiple rooms. So that was panel room A, panel room B, and all the gaming stuff. So 80,000 square feet or so for the interior space or for the actual space. There were fan tables and such along the hallway.
Well,
Yes,
while you're talking about
that Mars Attacks cosplay was amazing. That was really great.
While you're talking about it, I'll just show this.
Yeah, there you go. That high up 360 panoramic bird's eye view of the vendor hall and all that. Just pretty incredible. But yeah, it was a great year. It was a big year. I'm guessing where the attendance numbers are, but that's strictly a guess. I have no idea. I have no official data on that. But it was, yeah, the Navy was there because of Navy Week. That dude was pretty cool. Like, oh my goodness, that had to be hard. But yeah, we had a great time. It was an awesome show. I was saying a little bit earlier. Hey, what's up, Nick?
When are we going to get the complete video, Nick?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You only walked 87,000 steps over the weekend, then was at dance class Monday night. It's not like you've had a lot going on.
But I will say a couple things. One, this was Mike Grell's first show back after a couple years away because of some health stuff. And I asked him how he was doing. I asked him how the show was going for him. And it was everything. He said it was the perfect show for his first show back. That was great. If you've never met Adassa, who was she was one of the characters in Kanto. She is amazing. Just a great human being. Whenever kids come up, like she gets down at their level. She dresses like in character, first of all, as the character from Encanto. Then she gets down at the kids' level and talks to them and hugs them and sings songs to them. That's the Mars Attacks dude. That's freaking great.
Oh, yeah, that was great. And, Nick, I say that comment. I'm the swing arm operator.
But so the Adassa is really cool. There's Mike Grill. I met Lou
yes,
Diamond
Adam,
Phillips.
there was.
Lou Diamond Phillips is awesome. Lou Diamond Phillips was incredible. I wasn't buying anything. There you go. I was just popping in to say hi, and he came out from around the table and like wanted to shake my hand. He was asking my name. I wasn't buying anything from him. I was just telling him, hey, I really appreciate your work, and I've been a fan of your stuff for years. And he was just genuinely cool. Really, really awesome guy. Jodie Benson, the voice of Ariel from The Little Mermaid, she was just as sweet as she could be. She was amazing. And in her panel, I don't know if you saw the video of that, but somebody asked her if she remembered the words to one of the songs from The Little Mermaid. And so she just said, well, let's see. And then she just sang it.
Oh, wow.
She just sang it. The whole thing right there. It was like, wow. Okay. Uh, it took me years to shed the Civic out of Civic Center for the VBCC. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why
Wasn't it
we
wasn't it some type of legal thing about they couldn't do something if they had the word civic in the name?
probably that wouldn't surprise me at all. But yeah, that was. I also still call it Epcot Center at Disney World. So because that's what it is. Uh, but yeah, so I got to meet several folks, and I got to meet an awful lot of comic creators and hang around with comic creators and fans of comics, and it's spectacular. Yes, there's a Young Guns 3, and Emilio Estevez has said he also has ideas for Young Guns 4 and 5.
Okay,
Um,
so how are they going to pull this off with their age? And I mean, two
why
kind of
didn't they
left.
call it Old Guns? I don't know.
I mean, two kind of left it where it needed to be left.
We'll see. All of the folks who are alive that were in that show are coming back for it. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
that's going to be weird, but okay.
yeah, I would think that it would be, but we'll see. All of us '80s nostalgia people will at least check it out. Tell me you ain't going to check it out. Uh, yeah, so it'll be interesting. But the expo was just incredible. We had the best time. We saw a ton of people. Got to visit with people. One of my favorite moments from the expo, Mark Spears was in a separate room because he had two vendors that had prearranged before the show to bring 1,000 comic books for him to sign. And so there was a separate room at the show where they were set aside so he could go in and do that real quick. And a friend of his from back in the day when Mark was co-owner of Comic Corner here in town, um, and Mark hadn't seen this guy in forever. And this guy was at Mark's wedding, but this guy is a customer at Haven. Well, he showed up at the expo, and they said hi. And I said, I got to run you down to see Mark. And then we had to run across the expo to find where Mark was, but we finally found him. And I walk in the door, and I said, hey, Mark, I got somebody here to see you that you're going to want to see. And he's looking up at me like, who in the world? And he told me later, he said, I thought you were bringing in William Shatner. I was like, how would I bring in William Shatner? But I said, no. I said, so I got somebody here to see it. And then I just stepped out of the way because he couldn't see through me, obviously. And I stepped out of the way. And when I did, if you could have seen his face when he looked at Lamar, because he hasn't seen Lamar in 20 plus years. And when his face just transformed, he just went from like, who is this to, oh my God. It was great. So they got to catch up and talk, and that was one of my favorite moments of the show, was getting to like bring old friends back together.
I thought you were going to say your favorite moment of the show was that red spandex.
That was definitely not. I'm just going to say this. If you're going to wear a costume that's extraordinarily revealing to a show like this, please don't.
Yeah, and make sure you're not a dude.
Dudes, I do not need to know what your religion is.
Yeah. Mike, I never saw him do a spinneroonie, but I did run across Jeremy Long talking to Thunder Rosa, and I offered her $25 to pile drive him through a table into the concrete, and she wouldn't do it. I also offered $20 just to body slam him. But Jeremy had the best response when I offered her $20 to body slam him. He kind of laughed and said, I'll pay her $20 just to see if she can pick me up.
I bet she could.
I'm pretty sure she could. But this year, I definitely saw more of the guests walking around like on their breaks.
Yeah, they weren't just like go at their table and then ducking back into the green room. They were, a lot of them were out wandering about, and that was cool. We saw Walter Koenig, for example, walking around. The guy who played Chekhov in Star Trek and was in Babylon 5. We saw him walking around. Just there he was. Like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah, him, Frank Grillo, Thunder Rosa. There was two others that I saw. They were just out walking around, just checking the booths out.
which is cool. That's always cool. But we had a great time at the show. We hope you did too. Um, who are y'all hoping to see at next year's expo? If we're gonna like live in dreamland for a minute, who would you want to see in next year's expo?
I still, and I had brought this up to Jeremy, I guess a year or so ago. I still think that Tom Welling and Erica Durant's would be two good ones because of Smallville. I
Shatner
hope.
is 95 years old. Leave the man alone.
Yep. But I mean, like I said though, I'm not. I mean, I would rather see. And no offense, because I had a blast meeting Frank Grillo, but I would rather see people like, Dan Panosian, Tom Taylor, Ryan North. I mean, I would rather see some of those guys.
Yep.
So, but
Yep.
I mean, I've always been that way, and I'm always going to be that way. As far as actors are concerned, yeah, I mean, Matt Posey's right. Ernie Hudson, that would be cool because he was a Ghostbuster. Come on. Tom Welling, Erica Durant, I think those would be two good ones. Yeah, Bruce Campbell would be awesome.
Maybe he could bring his son, and we could get the Rocketeer.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
be okay with that.
that would be pretty
And
sweet.
if you're bringing him, so you have the Rocketeer, then you also have to bring. God, why did her name just slip right out of my head? She was his girlfriend in the Rocketeer.
Yeah, they would definitely be a big draw.
Oh heck yeah! I would love to see those guys. Jeff Johns would be a stupendous guest. I'm working on that. See what we can do.
I mean, come on, Larry Hama. I mean, the man's a living legend. But I just don't know about actors. I mean, the actors that I would want to see, I would want to see them just to see how many people they draw.
That's fair.
Like Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki from Supernatural. They are massive draws.
Yes, that's
But
true.
there is also a massive price tag on their autographs and everything.
You say Ming Chen, and I get that. I would like to bring in Ming Na Wen. She would be amazing. I'd love any of the agents of Shield for that matter.
Yeah. Or
But
if we
she's
could just
also a
get,
Disney princess, and she's in Star Wars. Uh, she covers a whole lot of fandoms.
yeah. Oh crap, Mark Hamill. That would be a good one.
Whew, buddy, you talk about expensive dude. That guy's expensive.
Oh yeah, Nick's got another one right there. Gina Carano. That would be a good one. Matt Posey, Jim Lee. I mean, I would love it to see if Ghost Machine would just like set up and just bring everybody. Just be done with it.
I would too, honestly. At least all of their American, U.S. based folks. I would love that. Um, who else was I going to say?
Charlie Cox.
Well, yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio. If he could come back, I would sure love that because I'd love the opportunity to meet him. I want
It
to get
would.
my if he comes back, I'm definitely doing the photo op, and I'm going to get him squishing my head.
I mean, it would be phenomenal if Jeremy could get Vincent D'Onofrio, Charlie Cox, and John Bernthal at the same show.
That would be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Yep.
But why not? Why not Karen
Now
and
I know.
Foggy?
You
Bring
know
in Karen
what?
and Foggy.
She was wearing a particular outfit in True Blood. I'll get the DVD set signed. There was. I went to the Nashville Horror and Tattoo Convention several years ago for one reason and one reason only. And if you want to see a draw, not happening. Norman Reedus, Sean Patrick Flannery, and Rocco. You get all three Boondock Saints there, and people are lined up for days.
Yeah, I believe it. Uh, yeah, okay, I can respect that. I'm not a big fan of John Romita Jr. or Todd Knock. I loved John Romita Jr. back in the 80s and 90s, um, but I don't know. At some point, he started like reading his own press and drinking his own bathwater. I just I have not cared for his art in a really really long time. And Todd Knock, it may just be because of all of those headshot covers where it's just the head and not even a neck that he did for the longest time. That just drove me nuts. But Dan Mora, oh heck yes, Dan Mora is the bomb. I would
And
love to get Dan Mora. Jim Lee obviously would be a colossal guest. But yeah, that would be spectacular.
one that I would like to get, but I don't. And I mean, this is purely for selfish reasons, and that would be Brett Booth.
Oh yeah, Brett Booth would be great. Charles Soule and Ryan Brown, yeah, bring those guys in. Get some 8 billion genies and lucky devils. That'd be great. Uh, Plus Daredevil for Charles Soule. Plus Star Wars for Charles Soule.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some great stuff. I would love this. This would be one of my dream combos. Bring in Mike Mignola and Ron Perlman.
Yep.
You're running. Why are you running? When did you become a runner?
Nick, it flat out says in the Bible, only the wicked flee when no one is chasing them. Cut that out. That is why I do not run.
uh, yeah, I understand that argument as far as numbers go. He certainly is bringing quality, but as far as numbers go, comics could be more strongly represented, and I would like to see that too. I'd love to see more comics guests. Um, but so yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. The expo's awesome. Just know Jeremy is working to bring in a ton of people next year, and he's working on getting quite a few
Will it be
high
expanding again
profile
next year?
guests. Does not expand next year.
Well,
Expands in 2027.
okay.
We take over the North Hall as well, which is now called the Saturn Ballroom. Is that
Yeah, the
it?
Saturn Ballroom.
Which is the entirety of the VBC except for the concert hall, the playhouse, and the arena. And I think he's also working on getting some music acts there to play in the Mars Music Hall um, next year. I think that's one of the things he's working on expanding into.
So, considering the theme, do you get someone like Gwar to play?
Oh, I have no idea.
I mean, I'm looking for an arena show, and it's Huntsville Pop Culture presents Slipknot. I need that show.
You know, I wouldn't mind that a bit. I wouldn't mind that even a little bit. That would be awesome.
I would be up in the middle of that room with all that stealth cigarette smoke, just listening to them talk about the glory days.
Oh yeah. I will say, if you ever have the chance, uh, and if you just missed your chance, I'm sorry, but if you ever have the chance, you get Mike Grell talking, and you ask him questions like, "What's the weirdest creator? What's the weirdest thing you know a creator's ever done?" Or what's a guy that nobody knows he was just a super weird dude? He'll tell you. He'll go like, when this guy's art got real weird, he was experimenting in multiple ways, and one of those was with leafy products. Yeah, he'll tell you. He is not holding back. He'll tell you anything about anybody. You're like, wow, okay.
Leafy products.
Yeah, he'll tell you. So it's pretty great. Mike Grill is an awesome dude. Uh, I'm actually hoping to get him to come on this show sometime. It would be really good. I told him when, for everybody who doesn't know the story of the tablecloth, I have a tablecloth. The first year that we had comic book guests was in year 2 of the expo, and Mike Grell and Chris Claremont were here. and Mike Grell signed this tablecloth as he was just showing off, like explaining how he came up with the signature. I stole the tablecloth. He came back and drew Green Arrow on it. And ever since then, every comic book guest that we have brought in, I've had sign this tablecloth or draw a sketch on this tablecloth. And so now it's kind of ridiculous. It's awesome, but it's ridiculous. But I went over and I got him to sign it again because if they come multiple years, they draw on it multiple times. And he had his guy take a picture of the two of us holding it, so he could post it on his social media and post it out to his fan group, which was pretty spectacular. Um, but yeah, really good. Oh heck yeah, Alex Ross would be amazing. That'd be
Oh
fantastic.
yeah.
That'd be awesome. But hopefully next year, year 11, we're going to have some awesome comics guests. I know Jeremy's working on that. We'll see if they're able to make that materialize, but fingers crossed that we can do that. So let's transition. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He's talking about Alex Ross. You know, when you at it is the Disney resort that Artist Point is at. Wilderness Lodge.
Wilderness Lodge, yeah.
So when you walk into Wilderness Lodge, if you go over to where you start to head toward Artist Point, I don't know if it's still there, but when we were there was this painting of Snow White, and it was like a mural, and it was done by Alex Ross, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Have you never? Let me see if I can find it right quick. You got
That's
it.
Awesome. I haven't been to that restaurant since they changed it over to the character meal. I haven't been back to it.
Oh, it's really, really good.
So Kaylisa's got a great question here. What is the favorite item that each of us bought and sold? That's a good question. What's the favorite thing you bought? What's the favorite thing you sold?
First appearance of the red suit.
Yep.
And favorite thing that I sold.
Or favorite thing we sold at the booth.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Because, I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff that left the booth. Honestly, It wasn't the favorite thing that I sold. It was the favorite thing that I watched somebody else sell, because I was not expecting this to happen in a million years.
Okay.
When I looked up and my daughter was making a sale.
Oh, that was great.
I was like, where did this come from? That, to me, that was the best.
That was pretty awesome. That's right. You got the first Power Girl. That's right. My favorite thing I bought, that would be House of Mystery number 92, the first appearance of Swamp Thing. I've never held one. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful.
That actually hung in the entrance of Artist Point.
It's probably still there.
Probably is. It's absolutely beautiful to see it in person, to see the painting itself.
That's fantastic. Really cleverly done. I like the way he did that.
Yep.
So favorite thing I bought was House of Mystery number 92. It's a CGC graded 3.0. And it's mostly because I've always liked that book and I've never owned it. Ever. It's the first appearance of Swamp Thing, but it's also interesting because Louise Simonson of Walt and Louise Simonson modeled for Bernie Wrightson for that cover. What is all that beeping?
All this. It's what, 8, a little bit after 8, and a bunch of people that I follow are going live. So now I'm getting all the notifications that they're going live.
Got it. Favorite thing I sold, I think, was Batman Adventures number 12, the first appearance of Harley Quinn. And that's because I know who bought it and I know how much it meant to him. It's a book he's wanted for a really long time. So I always, when you know something's going to a good home and you're making somebody's day, and they're not turning around and just flipping something, but it means something to them. That's a little extra special. That's
Yep.
nice. And I did enjoy, and I'm glad we thought to do it. We gave away a lot of Haven stickers to a bunch of little kids, and that was cool. So we weren't pressuring their parents, hey, buy this for your kid, buy this for your kid. But we give them a sticker and they walked away happy. I enjoyed that. I thought that was great.
I think the only parent that I pressured to buy something for their kid was Nick. And the only reason why I was doing that was to see the look of aggravation on Sky's face.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. This sounds awesome, Mike. I can't wait to see it. I know, and you've got a story to tell me too, which I'm looking forward to. I have not. I saw your question earlier. I have not read it. I'm looking forward to hearing the account in person. I think it's going to carry a little extra meaning that way. But let's transition. Let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit. We can always talk about the expo more, obviously, but let's transition just a little bit and talk about this. Boom!
Look
Free
at it.
comic book day. Free comic book day. The day after tomorrow. This Saturday, May 3rd. Holy smokes, y'all! This is going to be great. One of the things that's going to make it great is this poster you can see right here. Coheed and Cambria are coming to the Orion Amphitheater on May 21st. And these guys write the comic book Armory Wars. If you're familiar with Armory Wars, they write that comic. So they were looking for a cross-promotional thing to do with the comic shop. They reached out to us and said, hey, what do you guys think? And I said, well, here's my thoughts. And they said, sweet, let's do that. So they gave us a pair of tickets to donate to our charity raffle, which we do every year for Free Comic Book Day. For anybody who doesn't know what Free Comic Book Day is, it's exactly what the name sounds like. Does the poster say May 5th? Please tell me it doesn't, because I missed that. Now I got to go back.
Well, May 5th is.
It's May 3rd. You did put May 5th. You did that.
Well, give me just a minute and I'll take care of that.
Good catch. I was looking at the poster, not this image that Alan threw together. I can't believe I didn't catch that earlier. That's hilarious. It is May 3rd. It is this Saturday. So yeah, we'll fix that. Let me get that off screen. So anyway, all the publishers publish stuff. Some publishers publish, they reprint old stuff. Some publish new stuff. Mark Spears, for example, is doing a Monsters #0, which is a prequel issue. So anybody who's a Monsters fan is definitely going to want to get their hands on that. And he's using our Haven exclusive cover. That would be this one, the VHS cover. He's using this artwork, but instead of blue for the background and everything, it's green. So, yeah, that's going to be spectacular. Really looking forward to that because I want to read that prequel issue and see what's going on there, how he's going to choose to kind of retcon and put that prequel in. But some publishers print old stuff. Some publishers print new stuff. They sell it to us relatively cheaply. I hate that we have to buy it, but they sell it to us relatively cheaply, and then we give it away. Now we couple that with sales and other things at the shop, and it is every year. It's our biggest single day of the year, so it's effective. But our net is much less than it should be, having to pay what we have to pay for all the books and stuff that we get. But along with that, we do a few other things, like Tom Price is going to be set up doing sketches and things and selling art. Christine May is going to be set up and doing kind of on demand those little bags that she makes that everybody was always wanting to buy. She'll be making those. We're going to have the Sutherland Snow Depot Shave Ice people there from 11 to 3. That's going to be awesome. Really looking forward to that. Remind me Saturday morning we have to block off parking space for them, so that we. I'm not talking to you, Alex. I know you won't be there, but Kaylee or somebody remind me so that we block off that parking space for them. That's better. There
Is
we
that
go.
better?
That's better.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and email that one to you. So if you wanted to post it up on Facebook.
Thank you. Thank you. But we also do a food drive uh, charity raffle for Manna House, which supports people here in Madison County, North Alabama. It's our neighbors and helps people in need, which we're really happy to be able to do. So we get some sponsors who provide prizes that every single non-perishable food item you bring in. Let me qualify that. Every qualified non-perishable food item you bring in, and you don't get to say whether it qualifies. Kay Lisa does that, or one of her minions uh, does that. Gets you an entry into our raffle, and our raffle always has great prizes. And this year we've got the tickets to the concert, and let me tell you, there are no cheap tickets to the Orion Amphitheater. That is an expensive venue. Those tickets are worth decent money. That's pretty great. Hey, one of our favorite people from the Expo, Bianca.
I did not get to say bye to you Sunday afternoon. I'm sorry for that. That was very rude of me.
She's a professional, and she had her entire booth packed down into like 2 rolling wagon things. And she hauled that stuff out of there like she was hitting the Oregon Trail, like she was, boom, on the
I
road.
got a feeling she was ready to go, and I don't blame her.
Well, she hadn't been home in like 5 weeks because she's been at con. So yeah, she had to get home. Uh,
Oh, Bianca, if you come back next year,
what do you mean if?
well, yeah, that better not be that better not even be a
That's not
question.
conditional. When?
But I did not think about it until last night. My daughter has like a couple of prints that you've done, but I'm thinking I'm going to need one of those like you did the demon etrogen.
Etrigan, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm thinking mine might have to be Dr. Fate.
Oh, Dr. Fred'd been easy when he wears a helmet. It's a
I
mask.
know. Either Dr. Fate or Daredevil.
Daredevil,
Well,
there you go.
you come back next year and I'm going to be your first commission. I'm already calling dibs to be the first commission.
Well, now she might not come back.
Yeah, really.
That's not up to me. Uh, yeah, it is. You just say yes, I'll be there. That's it.
Who's it up to?
Put
I'll make
those
a phone
dates on your
call.
calendar. He's already announced the dates. Just put them on your calendar.
Yeah, I'll make a phone
Fantastic.
call. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah. Jeremy doesn't want anybody to riot, and people would riot. They certainly would. Um, but anyway, free comic book day. Jumping back to that, we have tickets to the Cambrian Coheed concert at the Orion Amphitheater. That's a huge prize. Um, the Spinner Rack folks very generously have donated an Absolute Carnage Immortal Hulk #1 CGC 9.8 signed by Miko Swayan. Um, awesome. That's a great book. So that's a prize that's being donated. Uh, wait, what?
Huh? The Coheed and Cambria concert or the Pop Culture Expo next year?
Yeah. Let us know what question you're asking. Specify, and we'll answer it. Yeah, Mike. Well, that's true. We know who started that nasty thing of her having to do commissions. I can't. She broke her rule for you, and now look what she's just breaking her rule left and right, Mike. Just terrible. Um, but Jeremy Long, the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo, has donated 11 signed autographed pictures from the show. A couple of Priscilla Presley, a couple of Jamie Presley, a couple of Jason Lee. Actually, I think 3 of Jason Lee. Uh, let's see, the guy, what's his name? Joel Hodgson from MST3K. Aaron Gray has one, and some guy, William Shatner. Some people have heard of him. He's got one. So if you didn't want to stand in line and pay all that money for a William Shatner autographed photo, you can bring in a can of green beans and win that theory. It's possible. Now, the more cans you bring in, the better chance you stand of winning something. But just so you know, uh, every qualifying non-perishable food item you bring in gets you an entry into that raffle. We still have a couple other prizes to announce as well. Um, One of our listeners, he hasn't given me permission to share his name, so I won't do that unless he gives me permission to do that. Is also donating a graded comic. That's a CGC 9.8, first appearance of a character.
I was going to say,
Um,
just for clarity, it's not this one. Y'all don't get this one. This one's mine. I've waited too long for it.
he's already told me he wants that buried in the coffin with him, y'all.
Exactly.
Uh, so sorry. I'll make sure it's in there, buddy. Um, let's see. We've also got the Huntsville Havoc are donating green beans. You could, I suppose. You could mail in ramen. That would be cheaper. Uh, and you have to break up those noodles anyway. So, yeah, you could mail in ramen, or you could have your aunt run by with it. We'd love to see her. But yeah, so the Huntsville Havoc is donating a swag bag. Now, I don't know what all's in that yet. We're going to have to pick that up tomorrow. But sometimes that's got a jersey in it, which is always nice. But it's got other swag for the Huntsville Havoc as well. We may have a couple other things. We'll definitely have a couple other things, but we're still waiting to pick up a few things from some of our other sponsors. But we're going to have some pretty spectacular prizes this year. Really, really excited about that. And to have a chance to win, all you have to do is help out people in our North Alabama area who they're our friends and neighbors, and they need a little bit of assistance. They're dealing with some tough times. So if you can afford to help, every little bit helps. I say this, you can ask Kaylisa, I say this every year. I hope and pray we have to rent a truck so that I can deliver all of that stuff to Manor House. I haven't had to do that yet. Make this the year I have to rent a truck, people. Make this the year. Not saying I won't try to talk the U-Haul people into donating the truck so I can make that delivery. But if that doesn't work, I'll rent the truck. But we're going to have everything's going to be on sale just about in the shop. So if there's something you've had your eye on for a little bit and you just hadn't quite been able to bring yourself to pull the trigger, this Saturday is going to be a great time to come in and pick it up. Collectibles, back issues, RPGs, trade paperbacks, all that stuff will be on sale. So come in and pick some of that stuff up. But yeah, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a long day. It's always a tiring day. We have a lot of folks come through there. But the other thing we could ask you to do, we don't typically ask a whole lot of you guys on this kind of thing, but we would ask, is to share the event out. Share it with your friends. Let people know about Free Comic Book Day, and let them know to bring in donations for our food drive if they can. Every little bit helps. So we would certainly appreciate that. Manor House would appreciate that. The people who need lean on Manor House's services would appreciate that. Free Comic Book Day is going to be a huge day, and we look forward to seeing you guys all there. So what are your thoughts, Alan? What am I forgetting to say?
I think that about covers it. I mean, yeah, Free Comic Book Day is always fun. I mean, it's the shop's always packed. It's a good time to be there. There'll be tons of conversations that you don't get to have with people normally. I made a comment about the Pop Culture Expo that's actually the one time, that's the one weekend a year that all of us are guaranteed that we get to hang out together.
Yep.
Well, I promise you that if you swing by the shop Saturday, you're probably going to see somebody Saturday morning that you probably didn't get to talk to at the expo. But I mean, it's just a good time, and plus, it's for a good cause. I mean, it's nobody wants to be in the situation that they're in. Some people, and they need help. So bring as much as you can. I mean, yeah, everybody at some point has turned their nose up to ramen noodles or beanie weenies or Vienna sausages, but
Peanut butter, yeah.
yeah, peanut butter. But you know they can't, they need it, and it's something that you can do, and it's you kind of feel good about it.
If you've never set foot at Manor House, I can tell you it's one of the most inspiring places I've ever been. Those people down there are working hard uh, to take care of folks, and they have an incredible system. And you'll walk away from that place like, wow, this is really cool. What else can I do to help? They're pretty great. So if you've never been, I really encourage you to swing by. Um, they're
I mean,
always looking
didn't
for a helping hand. They're always, if you've got time to donate, they can give you a job to do.
didn't Nick and Dustin go and pretty much fill up the bed of one of their trucks with ramen noodles one year?
Man, they did. They loaded us up with ramen noodles. They sure did. Uh, now,
And I guarantee you every single bit of it was eaten.
oh, 100%. Yeah,
Yep.
100%. Now, Kaylisa usually posts something on the Haven page about the like, a can of green beans is good, a thing of ramen noodles is good, but some things are even better, and it's things you wouldn't think about because ramen noodles, if you say ramen noodles, presupposes that you have access to a heat source and to enough clean water to put in with the noodles to make it, and then you have a bowl to put it in and to stir it all up. So it takes some infrastructure around the ramen noodles to eat that. Um, and so there's some people who are really, really in need. They don't have a way to cook it, right? They don't have that. So something that's already all prepared in a single thing that doesn't have to be heated up, a pop top instead of something that requires a can opener, is preferable. I mean, it's all good. So don't get me wrong. But sometimes it's little things that you wouldn't ever think about. Uh, we just kind of take those little things for granted. Those things can be deal breakers for somebody. I mean, if you have a can but no way of getting into that can, um, that's a hard place to be. Like, I have food, I just can't get at it. So yeah, anything we can do to make that easier is great. Also, some things that they just don't see very often are things to make a cake or things like that. Spices, they just don't get a lot of that because you think about the essentials, but sometimes folks who are down on their luck or folks who are in need, they have birthdays too. They have kids that they want to be able to do a little something special for every now and again. Um, so those kind of things are often very coveted items. We're not trying to get preachy or anything here, so I apologize if we've kind of gone on about it a little and we've gotten that way. But it's a great organization. It's helping people right here in our neighborhood, and we like to do that every year. And every year we try to challenge ourselves to be able to deliver even more. So if you guys make this the year I have to rent a truck, God bless all of you. That's awesome. Good for you. Oh
Yeah,
goodness.
I hate that I'm not going to be anywhere near here, but
Yeah, me too, buddy.
it happens.
It does. It does. But I get that. Yes, that's 100% accurate. Yep. Yep. Lots of good stuff, and it's always. I will say it's every time I pull up into the parking lot over there at Mana House to deliver everything, and they're like, I said, I need a cart because they have carts there. I need a cart, and they're like, okay, and they like try to roll me out the slot. I think, no, I need one of the big ones, and they're like, oh, okay, and then we just start unloading. That's always nice.
Now they do. Do they do like strictly food?
Mostly. There's a few other things they do, like diapers or things like that, that are kind of essentials, but mostly food. Yeah.
We need to. I mean, not this year because it's a little late to. We'll talk about that later. I don't want somebody showing up with something that you're not prepared to handle.
Understood.
So, yeah.
Understood. So yeah, I would have to say, as far as the books I'm looking forward to that are coming out for free comic book day, I am really looking forward to Monsters Number Zero. Uh, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, so Saturday will probably be my first chance, and I probably won't have a chance then. So it'll be Sunday before I get to read it. But I'm looking forward to reading the prequel to Monster Zero and seeing how that turns out. I think it's going to be pretty great. Um, so Monsters number 4 came out this week and comes out next week, thanks to the dual shipping from 2 distributors. And then Monsters number 5 is scheduled to come out on May 21st. So we're going to get 3 Monsters book in the space of 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks. Um, boom, boom, boom.
Well,
Whereas
I
it's been a
mean,
fairly long wait between number 3 and number 4.
have no, I mean, I'll go ahead and say what I was kind of thinking. I don't know how it would work because it's free comic book day is kind of its own thing. We'd have to find another day.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was thinking do a diaper drive for them one time.
Yeah.
I mean, we could even do a diaper drive for free RPG day.
Yeah. Free RPG Day, we typically support uh, the Kids to Love organization for foster kids here in North Alabama.
Well, do they need
Um,
diapers?
Probably. I wouldn't be a bit surprised that they need money and they need supplies and they need all kind of things, but diapers would be one of those, especially for people, because a lot of times the way that things work there is people who've put in to be foster parents will get a call sometimes at 2 or 3 in the morning saying, "Hey, we're coming over and we're bringing this kid, and this will be a 6 month old baby."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, we don't have anything to take care of a six month old baby." And there's like, "Meet us up over here at um, Kids to Love," and they have essentially a store of all brand new stuff that covers all age ranges and going to school supplies and all kind of things. And they say, "Okay, well, let's go through here and get you what you need." And so when that kid gets to their house an hour later, they have diapers and they have onesies and they have, burp cloths and whatever, a baby bed or whatever they need. It's a
Yeah.
phenomenal organization. It's really great.
Yeah, we need to do that. Do like, I mean, I guess find out what they need.
Dang it, Daniel Major. That's just rough. Don't give Mark ideas. Holy Lord. Oh my goodness. That ain't right. Um, I did see Mark showing a couple of people when I was over at his table. Like, this is the guy who posed for this, right? He told people that while I was standing there. So thanks a lot, Alan. That's going to become like that. That's going to become the urban legend, and nobody will ever believe me when I say no. That was not, in fact, me.
I absolutely love that in some small way that's becoming its own little thing, and it all started right here.
Yeah, right, right there, right there. You
Oh
rascal.
Lord. Yeah, unfortunately where I'm gonna be at, I think the closest comic book store is like an hour drive away.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. So somebody's gonna have to tell me if Monster Zero is Josh Olive's backstory.
As opposed to my backside.
Hmm. I mean, honestly, that Monster Zero could literally be you getting to the point of standing in front of the mirror.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Um, I'll make sure you get a copy in your box.
I will definitely take. I just want to read it.
I know you got to have it, so I'll make sure you get one.
Okay, now if anybody's on, anybody in the chat, or if you're watching this at a later date and you've made it this far into our shenanigans, God bless you. I do have a legitimate question. And if you're watching this tomorrow or 5 years from now, leave a comment. What's the deal with Archie comics? I mean,
The fact that
I
so
mean,
many people were asking for them at the expo this year.
yeah, I mean, I'm legitimately curious. I don't read Archie comics. That's just, I don't know why. I don't think I've ever read an Archie comic. But how has this comic book lasted as long as it did? Why are people still asking for them? And it's even got a book for it's Archie's Comics Spectacular for Free Comic Book Day. I'm genuinely curious. If that's your thing, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just honestly want to know. What's the deal with it?
I read some Archie comics when I was a kid, and I've picked up a couple here and there. I wish I could tell you. I don't know. Somehow they never let the artwork evolve. They kept it the same. So if you picked up a Archie comic from 1959 and you picked one up from 1999, they look the exact same. The art style is identical. So there's a comfort level there if it hasn't changed a lick. And part of its survival, I think, is because it doesn't change. But then at some point along the way, they got a sense of humor about themselves. And so they started publishing what if books and different universes of the Archie books and all kinds of stuff um, that are interesting. And then you get crossovers like Predator and Archie, The Punisher and Archie. Uh, just some oddball crossovers. This is a fantastic idea there, Mike. That that's what it is. That's what it is. That's what he's waiting. That's what he's waiting for. Uh, and then some of the Archie comics have got some outdated language and images on the covers, which, excuse me, now sound pretty. What's the term I'm looking for? Double entendres, or they're calling them double entendre covers, and so now they sound pretty bad.
Yeah.
Uh, if you're in that frame of mind. And those have become very popular covers to collect, and they've become expensive
Really?
as a result. Yeah.
All right. I mean, if anybody wants to add to that, please leave a comment down below somewhere. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what the comic books are about. I mean, that's how little
It's Archie and Betty and Veronica and the love triangle there, and it's Jughead, who's the class clown, and they're all in school, and the principal of the school is a doofus. It's just all of them. It's essentially you take the TV show Happy Days,
Yep.
keep them in high school forever, and put them in a comic.
All right, then. The art always reminded me of that comic strip that was in the newspapers, Dagwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
Similar with the noses and the weird hair, and yeah.
Yeah, and I just completely and totally dated myself, but that's okay. Mike Wazlowski's going to know what I'm talking about.
Except the comic wasn't called Dagwood; it was called Blondie.
It was called Blondie. That's it. Well, I mean, yeah, Dagwood was her husband.
Yep. With the weirdest hairstyle ever.
Oh, yeah.
What was with this? Like the spring.
Look, did not know how to comb his hair, but old dude know how to make a sandwich.
He did know how to make a sandwich. I'll give him that. There you go. Mix Happy Days with Dobie Gillis. That's right. That's right.
I remember Dobie Gillis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. That's about appropriate.
Well,
let's ask since we have people answering these tough questions. What are some other questions about comics that you've got here? Our turn to ask y'all questions.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just put me on the spot. The whole Archie thing was kind of over the weekend. Archie was a big one, and Muppet Babies. Are Muppet Babies making a comeback? I
No, they're
mean,
looking for a specific issue of Muppet Babies. They're looking for the issue with the Marvel 25th anniversary frame variant.
yep.
It's one of the hardest ones to find. So people who are collecting all the frame variants, finding Heathcliff and finding Muppet Babies and Care Bears. They're three of the hardest ones to find that have that 25th anniversary frame variant.
Huh. All right. And the first appearance of Sonic, that was a big one.
Yeah, Sonic is very popular. What can I tell you?
So my favorite, this is actually an extremely difficult question for me to answer because it comes down to the mood I'm in at that moment. I
Yep.
love Mad Cave Studios. If I'm wanting,
AWA.
yeah, AWA was just nothing but home run after home run. Then they just all of a sudden just stopped, and I don't
Although
know
they
why.
are starting back up, they are ramping back up.
Yeah. If honestly, one of my favorite books over, I think I probably the past 5 years was definitely Devil's Highway by AWA.
Great
Uh,
book.
I mean, just phenomenal book. It was dark. I mean, it was definitely a horror book. And then there was what, Red Zone. Red Zone was phenomenal by
Red Zone was
AWA.
spectacular.
Yep. But Mad Cave, I mean, Mad Cave does great. I mean, they're really good.
Nottingham. Yeah.
Yep, never got big into Boom Studios. Believe it or not, there was actually a couple of comics that Scout Comics did, and there was another one. It was something Point, because I think they were the ones that did. Hmm. I guess I would have to say my two favorite indie comic companies are definitely Mad Cave and AWA. That Point one is going to. It wasn't Cross
Now
Point.
you've really just messed up there, bud.
What?
You messed up big.
How did
The
I mess up?
proper answer to that question is whichever company has the license to GI Joe.
That was
So
it. Source
Source Point
Point.
Press. So there for a little while, my favorite was IDW. Now my favorite is Image and Skybound.
But see, now here's the thing about it. I mean,
I know you don't think of Image as indie.
I do not think of Image as indie comics, and I do not think they've been indie comics in a long time. Yes, they're still creator owned and everything. I mean, they got a lot of that going on, but I don't feel like they're indie comics.
Um, I've got to say, you also forgot because if you list people who use Image as a publisher, um, how do you not have Ghost Machine in that conversation?
But see, to me, Jeff Johns and those people that are, Jeff Johns, Jason Fabok, bald headed dude, writes novels, just completely and totally left my head. Brad
Brad
Meltzer.
Meltzer.
Those aren't indies to me. Those aren't like indie people to me, especially Jeff Johns.
They can't be any more indie than that. They're doing their own thing, man.
Yeah, but I just don't feel like they. To me, indie comic books are the small companies.
What
I
about Dark Horse? What about somebody like Dark Horse, Mike Mignola? Hellboy just keeps on churning out.
Yeah,
They've
and
got Stan Sakai back with Usagi Yojimbo.
but see, I was never that big into Dark Horse. To be honest with you, I'm really not that big of a Hellboy fan. I like the movies. I didn't like the comic books.
Back in the day, now it's been a while since I've read much Hellboy, but back in the day, when they had Mike Mignola, they had John Byrne. John Byrne was doing Next Men, and Mike Mignola was doing Hellboy, and they had a couple others. Frank Miller was doing Sin City. Dude, you couldn't stop them. They were amazing. They were just incredible. Uh, and they still carry that same flavor with them. They really do.
And look, I know that I'm forgetting somebody. Um,
Tell you, one of my favorite books I've read recently, I don't even remember who the publisher was. Um, I want to say something like Ablaze, maybe, whatever it
yeah.
was that book Parliament of Rooks that read like a Victorian fairy tale, kind of with like a Victorian fairy tale set in Bram Stoker's Dracula kind of a world. That kind of vibe. There weren't vampires, but that kind of vibe. Um, Phenomenal comic with exquisite art. I mean, just absolutely beautiful art. And nobody's reading that book.
Opus Comics that was really good. The Death Dealer series that they did.
Yeah, right up until they didn't pay anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, I really can't help that. But as far, I'm just talking about purely for the book itself. Death Dealer was a good series that Opus did.
All right, that reminds me. Let me ask you this, and this is a good one for us to maybe wrap up on. Um, what's your favorite universe that like blew up in comics and then went away? It died. It disappeared. It is no more.
Oh crap. And it like blew up and imploded just as darn quick. And it was it Malibu?
You talking about the Ultraverse?
Yes, the Ultraverse. Because I liked Prime. I thought that was a cool comic book.
Prime was great. Hard Case was great. Freaks was great.
Was it Nightman?
Sludge was great. Nightman was awesome.
Yep.
I loved the Ultraverse. Solitaire, Prototype, all those books. I
Yeah,
loved the
because didn't
Ultraverse.
it blow up in the early 90s and then it was pretty much dying by the late 90s or maybe even mid 90s?
No, they got bought by Marvel. Marvel wanted Malibu had a coloring process that Marvel wanted, and so they merged, they did a crossover with them, and then they bought them, and then they took all their characters and shoved them into a drawer. They would have continued to be successful had Marvel not bought them, but Marvel bought them and took them off the street and locked them in the closet.
Mm, okay. I mean, I didn't know that Marvel bought them. I'll be honest
Yes,
with you.
they did. Yeah, read up on it. It's a sad state of affairs, and we haven't seen any of those characters since then because I believe the creators owned some portion of those characters, and now Marvel can't use them without those having to pay those creators, and Marvel didn't want to do it.
Oh, now that blows.
Oh, it sucks. It sucks hardcore. Uh, that was certainly one up there for me. I loved the Ultraverse. The other one for me was CrossGen. I
Yeah.
loved CrossGen. Uh, when you had books like Sojourn and Scion and oh, what was the name of that book? It's right here.
See, look, Josh, I'm not the only one. There's several people that's agreeing with me on this. And I mean, can you really consider Ghost Machine indie when they've got the Image logo on the covers?
If they had published with Dark Horse instead, would you feel different?
Probably.
It's just who they're using to publish.
But yeah, I know.
If
But
you look at the individual companies within like Skybound or Ghost Machine, would you consider those to be indie
if they were
if they
not
were just publishing without that eye on the cover?
if they were not attached to Image Comics on any level and they were literally out there doing their own little thing in their own little world without the support of Image, like AWA does or Mad Cave does, and all them, yeah, I would definitely consider them indie then.
That right there, yes. Uh, I would love to see more Big Hero 6.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, CrossGen was spectacular. I really love Bart Sears, his artwork on the Path and on the first. Um, you had Jeff Johnson on Way of the Rat. Just so many different kinds of comics, and not one single one of them was a straight up superhero book. You had Greek mythology, you had Chinese mythology, you had fantasy, You had horror with Route 666. Route 666 was such a fun book. It came out right toward the end. You had sci-fi. You had every genre just about covered, but they didn't have any superheroes. Um, and I will say, if you ever get the chance to talk to people like Mark Wade um, and folks like that who were part of CrossGen, Steve Epting, El Cazador. Oh my God, his work on El Cazador was spectacular. That was a pirate story.
Yeah, I don't think I ever
Uh,
read that.
it only had a couple of issues come out because it came out right toward the very end when they collapsed. That was the first comic book where I ever read it, and I had to go look up who did the colors on this book because it was exquisite. The artwork for El Cazador was Steve Epting, and it was beautiful. And then Justin Ponser was the colorist, and his colors were the first time I really like. It made me sit up and pay attention to who did the coloring on that book, and he knocked my socks off. Unfortunately, really unfortunately, Justin Ponser, who everybody said was an amazing human being on top of being an incredible creator, died of cancer several years back at a very young age. So that was unfortunate. But he absolutely got my attention and made me sit up and say, wow, you can do so much more with colors in a comic book than I ever understood. There was one particular picture of these two pirate ships um, and the sun setting and some white caps on the water and shark fins cutting across the water. There was just this incredible picturesque view uh, that would just be phenomenal art to hang anywhere. It was exquisite, absolutely beautiful, and God rest Justin Ponser's soul. He was an incredible talent, and I hate that we lost him.
Now, I know it depends on how you look at it. It could be kind of like its own little universe within a universe. But would you consider the Vertigo line its own little thing inside of the DC universe?
Um,
Because yes, they were a part of the DC universe, but they kind of existed off in their own little corner of it.
yeah, that's a good point. I could see that kind of like Epic was with Marvel back in the day.
Yep.
It was because they had Elf Quest and they had these other things that wasn't Marvel proper. It was like one of the big two trying to spin off an indie imprint. And
Now,
Vertigo was very much like that.
is that the same Epic that did the Nightbreed comic books? Because there was a Nightbreed comic book, and then there was like a
No,
thicker.
you're talking about the Jim Starlin book?
No, I'm talking about the Clive Barker book, Nightbreed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there was
Probably.
okay, because it was
Okay,
more. It
right.
was a
Like
lot.
you said, like Milestone Comics was with DC. I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of a separate imprint altogether.
Because I remember those Nightbreed comics. They were more like they were half the size of a trade paperback. They weren't as small as a comic book, but they weren't as big as a trade.
Yeah,
I think I've still got a couple of them at home.
yeah, I agree with that. We should kind of do a deep dive sometime on some of these lost universes. That'd be a fun topic to do some research and cover down on. Uh, y'all let us know in the chat if y'all think that would be if you would want to tune in to hear that. Um, because I can see us getting real excited about it and everybody else going, "Why are you talking about something that doesn't exist anymore? Go away."
Yeah, really.
Um, but yeah, you look at a book like with the Ultraverse. You look at a book like Strangers, essentially their Avengers team. Man, Strangers was great.
I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that too. That makes sense. Um, like they had one of the strangest characters they had in the Strangers, but this was the '90s, so we just accepted all of this, right? Um, this event happened that turned a handful of regular people into ultras, right? That's what happened in Strangers across the Ultraverse, but it happened in Strangers, and it this essentially bolt of lightning that transforms people hits a trolley car in San Francisco. And one of the people on that trolley car, one of the was a an android that some rich jerk had designed as a sex robot. And she gained consciousness and sentience as a result of this. And she also had powers like kind of like electro or whatever, like electricity and but her code name that she went by when they formed this team of called Strangers was Electrocute, which I thought was pretty good.
I remember that.
That was pretty clever. But they also had the guy who could just make shrapnel explode out of his chest. And his name was called Adam Bob, not Adam Bomb, but Adam Bob.
Now there was another one, and I don't remember if it was Dark Horse or who put it out, but I remember that it definitely had a cult following back in the 90s, and that was Grendel.
Oh, Grendel was published by a couple of places, but yeah, that was Matt Wagner.
Yeah, whatever happened? I mean, it just kind of eventually.
Well, it was just a passion project of Matt Wagner's. He was doing it on his own, the whole 9 yards, writing it, drawing it, everything.
Oh wow!
And he got pulled into other things, and so he would come out with a Grendel story every now and again. He still does periodically.
Yeah.
But no, Grendel was great.
I did like what you said a minute ago about how some of that stuff from the 90s, we just accepted it. It was kind of like Freak Force that Image did when they first come out.
Yeah.
We just flat out accepted Freak Force. I mean,
or Wildcats. Let's look at Wildcats, right? One of the main characters in Wildcats was a stripper.
Yep. And technically, she's still around in the DC universe.
Yeah. But you look at that and you're like, what? But we just accepted it.
Yep. I would honestly, if Image was to bring something back from the 90s, and I meant to pick up that Young Blood that come out a couple of weeks ago, and I don't even think there's any left. I would love to see Image bring back Pitt.
I did love Pitt. I will say, oh, why did his name just run out of my head? Dale Keown.
Yep.
Dale Keown, for me, at the time when Pitt came out, when he was doing Hulk and all that, his art was top notch. I mean, it was way up there, and it had this quality of like organic, real kind of a vibe to it. Now, he was drawing characters that were obviously these ginormous muscle-bound Hulks, and there's spit flying everywhere, and green blood, and all this kind of thing, and hair blowing all over. So they weren't realistic, but they had power in them. They felt dynamic and kinetic. And he disappeared for a long time. I don't know if he was doing video game art or what he was doing, but he came back a couple of years ago and he did a couple of variant covers, and his stuff all looks very static and stale, like he's using action figures, posed action figures for models or something.
Yeah.
His stuff just doesn't have that power and dynamism that it used to have. And I hated to see that because I always loved his work so much. Dale Keown was amazing. Really, really liked his stuff. We have an original page of his art from his Incredible Hulk run on the wall at the store.
I mean, honestly, think about Pitt. Who would not want to read a comic book about a boy and his killer alien best friend?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously. It's Calvin and Hobbes, but with a killer alien instead of a tiger.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would sell today. I really do.
But to go back to Daniel's question, and it's a totally legit question, man, I don't know. Somewhere along the way, we quit saying, I'll check it out. And we started saying, well, I haven't read a good review about that.
Yeah.
Like, whose review are you listening to, man? Read it and decide for yourself. You're not buying a car. You don't need to research all the stuff. It's a $5 comic book or a $4 comic book.
And we've talked about this before. I mean, people will literally stand there and say, well, there's nothing good to read. And you hand them 10 comic books and you're like, hey, you know what? Here's a really good example. Scott Snyder's Clear.
Yeah,
Scott
Clear
Snyder.
was so good.
That book still blows me away to this day. If you hand it to somebody, they're gonna be like, "Well, I don't want to read that." What it is they're not getting what they want. There's not a new Spider-Man comic book or not a new Batman. They want something that they're comfortable with, and they're ignoring some phenomenal stories that are out there. Canary was another good one. Canary was
Canary
great.
was great.
Canary,
Terrifying, but great.
yeah, but it took twists and turns that I was not expecting.
Same.
Red Zone comes out of nowhere and was just
From a guy who typically just writes horror.
yeah, and I mean was phenomenal. Black Tape by Dan Panosian.
There you go, right there. That makes me feel good. We did our job.
Yeah, I mean, Clear was such a good book, and I mean, and the bad thing about it is Clear actually pissed me off the way that it ended.
Yeah.
And I still love that book.
Yeah.
Because that is not the ending that I wanted for the characters, myself, or anything.
Right. But it was still
But I
amazing, and
still,
you could respect it.
yeah, I could respect it. Honestly, it was the right ending. Oh, yeah, they
Well,
are.
that's 100% true. And that, I think, is largely because, like, if you look in the case of Marvel, for example, because they let Spider Man and X Men just languish for so long. And you got something you love, and you're like, I love Spider Man. I'm going to read it. And you keep picking it up, like, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. And then it just keeps on being garbage for years. At some point, you jade your audience, and they're like, I don't trust anything anymore. And I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I don't agree with it. I understand it. I can see why that people would feel that way. Um, rather than publish a comic because they didn't want to encourage anything with Fox, who was making the movies, Marvel just shuttered Fantastic Four and locked them in a closet.
Mm-hmm.
For years. There was no Fantastic Four. Thankfully, when it came back, they had sense enough to say, hey, Mr. Ryan North, how's about you do? Actually, he wasn't the first one to write it when it came back. Somebody else did. But pretty soon after that, they said, here you go, Ryan North, you do your thing. And that was a great decision. But yeah, I think some of that is Marvel and DC, certainly for a long time too. Thankfully, not both at the same time. Uh, they have let characters languish. They've put out non-quality products. And so that makes people judgmental. Like, I don't want to throw my money away. I want to get something I know is going to be good.
And have you ever noticed, and then we can start wrapping it up, but have you ever noticed that DC and Marvel are exactly like Alabama and Auburn football? Neither
Yes.
one of them can be good at the same time.
Yep.
It's like it's an unwritten rule somewhere that neither one can be good at the same time. Daniel Major, I
And
said it to
no
some,
one could follow or understand. And they told a
yeah,
story, that X of Swords, that was 22 chapters across all of their books. Nobody wants to read a 22-part story that makes them collect books outside of what they normally buy. That's ridiculous.
honestly, they need to shelve X-Men for the next 5 years. Maybe have a guest appearance here and there in a book, but ultimately they need to shelve X-Men for the next 5 years, do away with them, act like they don't exist, and hopefully somebody will come along that cares about those characters and wants to write them the right way.
Never happened.
No, it's not going to.
I will say, Jed McKay is writing X-Men right now, and Gail Simone is writing Uncanny X-Men. Um, I'm checking in on those books, but that for me is the weakest book that Jed McKay has done, is X-Men.
And his Moon Knight is so good.
It's so good. His Doctor Strange is really good. Yeah, he's just very good. But Gail Simone, her book would be a very interesting small X-Men book, but when it's Uncanny X-Men, it feels weird. It feels like it's the side quest for the characters, and not like the main story.
Yep.
And it's exquisitely told. She's wonderful, and it's got great art, but it's really strange because it doesn't feel like we're getting the main story. We're getting the side quests.
Yeah. Or if they wanted to do something cool, bring back the 80s X Factor team, put them in space and let them have some adventures like they did back in the day.
Yeah, that'd be good, but don't have them run into the space jammers or star jammers all the time. That drives me nuts.
No, they don't have to run into them. They could fly by them. That would be funny.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, it's about time to wrap things up. We've been yakking for a couple hours now, so hey, everybody who has stuck with us this whole time, man, thank you very much. We appreciate it. He got airborne at the show, and he's very happy.
Oh,
I'm very happy for you.
yeah, I got airborne at the show, and then I made a fatal mistake, and I went and saw our friends at the spinner rack.
Yeah, yep, that would do it. But everybody, we hope to see you this Saturday, May 3rd. 3rd, Alan.
Corrected the.
I know.
I corrected it.
But we hope to see you guys at Free Comic Book Day this Saturday. If you're not local to Huntsville or North Alabama, find your local comic shop and go visit those guys. If you're in Decatur, go to the comic shop. You're not going to find a better guy than Muncie that runs that shop. He's great. Awesome dude, awesome store. Get by there. Support your local comic shops. If you like comics and you like the culture, it only sticks around if you go in and you support them. So get by there and purchase stuff. But if you're in the Huntsville area, definitely come by Haven for Free Comic Book Day. We hope to see you, and we're looking forward to it. Don't forget to bring your canned goods or your non-perishable food items for Mana House. That'll register you to win some great prizes. So don't forget that. Anything you want to say before we sign off there, Alan?
No, I mean, you hit it. I mean, the food drive is Saturday for Free Comic Book Day. Get some free comics for the kids and drop off some canned goods for Mana House and buy some stuff from the shop. Have fun. Be a kid again.
True
And
that.
leave a comment on why I should be reading Archie comics, because apparently I've missed this boat for the past 137 years.
That's correct. On that note, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate y'all. And we hope to see y'all soon. Thanks.